Are you tired of struggling with money? Do you wish there was someone who would teach you the tools that you need to finally start building wealth and secure your financial future, no matter where you are right now with money? Well, the woman you're about to meet is going to teach you some things. She's got some hot money tips, an amazingly inspiring story, and you are going to walk away today knowing that yes, you too can build financial security and wealth. Welcome to Boss Up Goddess. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and I interview trailblazing women who share their wisdom to help us all live bigger, better, and bolder. And I'm so honored to introduce Cathy Callie. She is a money coach. She's amazing. She has a new book that shares all her secrets that can help you, and she speaks from experience. Welcome, Cathy.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm so honored to be here, especially since you were my book coach. I wouldn't be publishing this book without two sisters writing and publishing.
Oh, thank you
Really,
so
thank you
much,
so.
Cathy. You're welcome. You're an amazing teacher. Like I, knowing you, I've had my own breakthroughs with money, and you have a way of creating a safe space where you take away the I feel dumb factor with certain financial terms, and I'm just open to learn and not feel dumb about certain things anymore. And it's awesome. It's so empowering. So your book is going to do that exponentially for people everywhere.
Thank you. I
You
hope
have
so. We don't get this financial education in high school. And then, we
right.
build a career, we have children and families, and life goes on. And then we have these missing pieces in our financial knowledge, and we blame ourselves, but it's not really a personal problem. It's a cultural problem. We're not being
Oh,
taught this stuff. And I was
right.
never given the manual. I was always an artist. I was a singer, musician, music therapist, dancer, yoga teacher. And no one gave me the manual that said, here's how you become a wealthy artist. So I decided
Oh,
to
wait,
write it.
oh, excellent, excellent. And your book is called Give, Save, Spend: How to Build Wealth and Change the World. And it just came out. Do you have a copy handy?
I don't actually. I have 150 copies coming next week. Very exciting.
Oh, hot off the
So,
presses.
yes, hot off the presses.
But if people go to your website, they can see it and pre-order it, and it's gorgeous. It's like I don't know if you can see it on my phone. It's got this beautiful green, and it's money green and Mother Earth green, which is just so beautiful because she's like, change the world. So I love all that. And you're all about give, save, spend. And giving is a huge tenet of your philosophy. So, Cathy, wait, let me just share. Cathy's going to have some hot money tips for all of us tonight. So stay tuned. But first, we get to hear Cathy's remarkable story about how she lost everything twice and then built from scratch her empire of teaching and changing lives to empower us all financially. So, Cathy, can you tell us your story on how you got into this, please?
Sure. Yeah. I had always been an artist, and I opened a business in my early 30s in a meditation and yoga practice, and all my money blocks came up. Who am I to charge money for this? All of my self doubt. So I hired a coach, and over 10 years, I learned how to make really good money as a yoga and meditation teacher and as a prosperity coach. I was teaching what I was learning. And I had an incredible year, 2 years, where I made over $100,000. But it was right at the time where I got a divorce and I became a single mother. And then my income plummeted down to $1,200 a month with $300 in food stamps. And
Whoa.
I realized at that point, I don't I don't just need to learn how to make money. Need to learn how to manage it. So then I
Mm.
got some new tools. And so I learned about saving and investing, having an emergency fund, some of these very practical tools that are so important, as well as the mindset tools for making money. You need practical tools for managing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the last 5 years, I got married during that time, and with my new husband, who also was rebuilding from scratch, we upped our net worth by $350,000 in 5 years.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. That's
Yeah.
remarkable.
So the tools really do work. And then we lost it all last September when our home burned in the Alameda fire.
In
That
Oregon.
was, yeah, in Oregon. So that was losing it all part two. But the difference was that we had all of these practical plans and steps in place. So we were devastated emotionally, but not financially.
Wow, that's wonderful. Now that is the lesson that everybody watching needs to learn. To have, like, you go through a devastating crisis, but you're like, I'm good. We're good.
Yeah. I know, it's pretty remarkable.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Cathy. So, can you talk about, what you've done and how you got to that point, please? Like what specific
Sure.
steps?
So I personally started with that low income as a single mom, right? And I knew I had the ability to make money. So I hustled in my business. That was the first thing that I did to bring in new clients. I had moved to a new town, so I kind of had to rebuild from zero. And so I hustled and I marketed, really worked hard. I took on several jobs,
Mm-hmm.
multiple streams of income. I always recommend that especially for creative people. And I learned to eliminate debt. That was a biggie. I learned how to have an emergency fund, and that brought big peace of mind. And then I started investing in areas that had meaning for me. And I talk in the book about all the different kinds of investing you can do. That's one thing with heart-centered people is when we invest, we want it to be meaningful, right? We don't want to invest in a company that's promoting slave labor. We don't want to be investing in things that we just don't believe in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. So, Cathy, it's just so amazing. And I love how you are speaking from experience because you've been there. You know how people feel confused and devastated and hopeless, and they can find hope in your story and also your expertise. So, what are the hot money tips you can share with us tonight?
Okay, great. So we have to acknowledge everyone has been impacted by COVID, right?
Mhm.
So these are tips for, what you can do now, even with the fact that our economy is really wonky and weird right now.
Mhm.
And, you may have lost income. You may have lost certainly a sense of comfort. We're all just having to readjust, right? So I want to give 3 tips, and they're based on give and save and spend. Okay. So
Okay.
the first tip is to give something of your money away if you can. And so you can start small. I've had a tithing practice where I give 10% away for 15 years, right? And that is a big part of my spiritual practice and my spiritual walk. And it helps keep me in alignment with my highest good. And sometimes you can give to a spiritual place, like a church or synagogue or spiritual center, and sometimes not. Sometimes you might be giving to a charity, or you might be giving to an author that inspires you, or to
Uh-huh.
a healer, or some other kind of group or teacher. Right. But I
Mhm.
encourage you to give some money away this week. And what it does,
This
even if
week.
you're, yes, give it away this week.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you haven't been giving anything, this is going to just radicalize everything. And if you have already
Okay.
been giving, you can be upping your giving, stretch a little bit more, right? But giving opens up the circulation of universal energy for you. It actually helps put you in the flow where you are expecting good and more good comes to you.
It puts you in a universal what? That's wild. What does that mean, Cathy?
Okay, so what this is like, this is spiritual, right? This is woo-woo stuff. So when you give, you automatically tell yourself, I have it to give.
Oh.
puts an affirmation in your consciousness that you have it, right? When we're holding on, we're telling the universe, I don't have it. Things are tight. I don't have it to give. I just can't, I can't give it all. You know, it's like a tight posture. But when we give, there's this sense of openness and this sense of generosity.
Oh,
and
I love that.
That opens us up.
You know what, Cathy? It's really interesting. When I give a tip to someone, I feel so happy. Is that part of it? Like it raises my vibration because I just gave them some money.
Totally. That is it.
Okay. And guess, you know what? Wait, look, can I just share this? The first time I ever left a nice tip for the person who cleaned the hotel room where I was staying, a miracle happened that day later.
Really?
Yes.
What happened?
I left a tip and I wrote gracias on the piece of paper and I put the money on the paper on the bed and I left. And I was like, I just knew I felt happy doing that. And then later it was something about my son's tuition, like extra money came that I was able to pay it more easily money came to me later, a large sum.
And that's what happens with giving is you'll find that there's these unexpected blessings that start happening and money flow is much more consistent.
Oh, I have another one. I felt called, like spirit will tell you when to give, right, Cathy? Like spirit will just move you. And one day I felt moved to give $100 to this young lady who's a single mother that I know, and I knew she needed that. I gave her $100 totally unsolicited. Later that night, my client gave me a $500 tip.
That is incredible. See, these are incredible tithing stories. Okay, just a second. I'm going to be right back.
Sure. So I didn't even think of it as tithing though. It was just like when spirit tells me to do something like that, I just do it. Cathy, you didn't miss anything. I was just saying when I don't consider it tithing. I guess it's just my spiritual walk, as you called it. It's like spirit said, give her $100. So I did, even though I probably needed it myself, but I just gave it. And then I got $500 totally unexpectedly.
Right. I had this experience once when I had about $3,000 in business expenses piling up that I owed, right? And I was so afraid of how I was going to pay those. I didn't have a plan for how to pay them. And I remembered, oh my gosh, I haven't given any money away this week. So I gave away, it was just $10. That was it. I just gave away $10. And the next day I had a $3,000 day.
So this should be a weekly practice, you're saying? Give away money every week?
Yeah, and monthly. If you want to do it monthly, that's great too. I'm suggesting it as a hot tip for this week just because we're on the show and this is an opportunity for people to give.
Oh, okay.
But I generally do my giving every month. But since we're near the end of the month, if someone hasn't been giving a lot, this is an opportunity to get that flow going.
Okay. So when you say tithe, because I was saying I didn't necessarily think of it as tithing, but it's like it is spiritual because my intuition, my divine voice within is saying do it. Like that's how I'm guided.
Exactly. And it's not always religious, but it can be. If someone is religious, their giving might be to their place of worship. That might be fine, but it might not. It might be, like you say, just kind of following your inspiration.
Okay. Beautiful. Love that, Cathy. So that's give.
Yeah. So that's our hot tip for give. And then our hot tip for save is to do the same thing. Put $10 more in savings this week. That's it. That is it. And the reason I suggest that you start small like that is because you don't want to overwhelm yourself. A lot of times when we're developing a saving practice, it can be overwhelming to try and carve out that money for saving. And it can be depressing, right? I used to try to do this. I used to try to, I want to carve out $500 to put in my, in my emergency fund or in my investing account, and then ending up having to take it back out again because I
Oh.
hadn't really, planned for it in my budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
So just starting small, adding more to your savings this week,
Mm.
and just let it be small and super doable, and maybe you don't even feel it, and that's fine. You can
Mm-hmm.
up it later,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just getting that muscle going of saving.
Oh, okay, okay. And sometimes the saving means not spending on something that we want impulsively, like, ooh, I see that, I want it. Ooh, let me buy myself those flowers that cost $20 or, right?
It can. I mean, that's my next hot tip, is to spend something on yourself.
Uh-oh.
So, and if we're starting small, it's okay. $10 for giving, $10 for saving, $10 for spending. And so the spend hot tip is to find something to give yourself pleasure, because no one wants to just give to others and just save. We've got to have
Mm-hmm.
something for ourselves.
Yes,
when
yes,
when
for
I was
sure.
working on getting out of debt as a single mom, I went to a dance class about every other week that cost $10.
Mm-hmm.
And that dance class was like my church. It was my solace. It was my
Oh,
self-care time.
uh-huh.
And it just made my whole life so much more enjoyable. And it wasn't that
Mm-hmm.
expensive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so spend some money on yourself to enjoy your life, celebrate yourself.
Yes,
Oh, I love that.
absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. We need to do that more because it makes you feel really happy when you just drop all the guilt or whatever and you're like, yes, I'm going to do this. I did that the other day and I just was filled with joy suddenly.
Wonderful.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and when you say flowers, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to get flowers this week.
But you can go to Trader Joe's or somewhere like that and get gorgeous flowers for under $10. You
Yeah,
know,
you can.
hmm.
And that's the thing, is we need to remember that spending, if we make it a whole lifestyle, yeah, that's out of balance, right? If all of the money that we bring in just goes to spending, it's not really smart.
Hmm.
But if we are doing some giving and some saving and some spending,
Hmm.
then life is in balance.
Hmm. Hmm. I love that balance. Cathy, how do you advise people to stay organized on this quest? Do you think they should have a budget? Do you think they should track their spending and all those types of tools?
Yes, I totally recommend having a budget and have it be organic and fluid. So I used to think a budget was something you wrote on a piece of paper and it was just the same every month. And I always felt constricted by that. Like, oh, it's like I'm being in a prison and the prison keeps me from spending on what I want, you
Yes,
know?
yes. Uh-huh.
So I don't recommend that you keep it the same every month. I recommend you change it every month and let it be organic and fluid with your changing needs. So you will have some regular expenses that will stay the same, and that kind of makes it easier for you. You're not like reinventing the wheel every time,
Hmm.
but you'll have other things that adjust and change, right? You're budgeting for a trip, or if you have kids, you got school supplies or whatever, or you have things that you're budgeting for that change month to month.
Hmm.
And so there's awesome software out now to
Oh,
help you do this. And
uh-huh.
for artists, we like things that are simple and color coded.
Uh-huh. Yes, yes, for
not
sure.
like not like really intensive spreadsheets, right?
No.
Yeah, I know your face says it all.
Well, the thing is, the squares are so little, and I always want to write much more than will fit in the little box. So
Right?
anyway,
Yeah, so to have the space to do that. I know. I
yes. So I
know.
make my own.
You
Okay.
do? I love that. Way to go. Yeah. Now that's really making a budget organic for you. I love that. Yeah. So you can make your own. You can do a homemade spreadsheet that is like bigger
Hmm.
and a little bit more room for writing. I do use a software called everydollar.com, and I highly recommend that because it's really simple. you can start with your four walls, which is like your four basic categories of housing, transportation, utilities, and food. So that's your four walls, right? And so you just start with those, and it has a little color-coded pie chart that shows you where all your money is going.
What? But
Yeah, I love that.
You enter in all your amounts.
You do, and they prompt you when you go to everydollar.com. It's free to sign up, and you can pay. I think it's $120 a year if you do the automatic bank transactions, but it's free if you want to just like create your own transactions. So you just say, oh, I had this receipt from the grocery store, and I had, this receipt from the gas station, and it prompts you to fill all that stuff in. So it's not like you have to do it all yourself. They're really educating you as you set it up.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, everydollar.com. I highly recommend it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that tip.
Yeah.
So, Cathy, what other trends are you noticing during the pandemic? Some people are doing really well, and some people are really struggling.
Yes, I notice there's a real discrepancy. And the discrepancy I see is between those who are living paycheck to paycheck and those who have had a plan. That's the real difference. The people who've been living paycheck to paycheck have been really struggling and not doing well, because a little gap in income means they can't pay the bills. 70% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved. That's a crisis. That was before the pandemic, right? And then those people who have some savings, have some investments, they have a cushion. And those people are riding the wave a little bit easier right now. Sadly to say, it's like the rich and the poor.
Yeah. And sadly is the word that comes to mind when I read about the statistics about how the pandemic has hit women. Some of the statistics don't even make sense, like 100% job loss or some. I couldn't even comprehend what it was saying, but it was so many women in the service industry lost their jobs, or they had to stay home and homeschool their kids, and their husbands were working if they had a husband, or a partner who was the breadwinner. Women have been especially financially crushed by this pandemic. So what advice do you offer them to rebuild or just survive?
I would say going forward, get an emergency fund together. And this is what brought such peace of mind to me as a single mom. The first emergency fund I recommend is $1,000 in savings. And if people are making less than $25,000 a year, they can, ratchet that down, make it 500 to feel like it's more doable to get that together. But have a little baby emergency fund. And that means that if little emergencies come, you don't have to put them on the credit card. It means you feel relaxed, right? When I first got that $1,000 together, I, something would go out of my car that cost $300 and I didn't have to stress about it, right? Actually that happened twice, like right in a row. And I just took the money out of the emergency fund and I replenished it. And then it happened again. And I took the money out and then I replenished it. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is to get out of that consumer debt. And that can take a little while, but consumer debt actually erodes your wealth. It's like anti-wealth. And then to have a fully funded emergency fund after that, to have a $10,000 emergency fund, or maybe a little less if you're a single person. I know as a single mom, I had 6,000, and that was that would help me sustain 6 months of my expenses. I was living, very simply, and I was able to cover my expenses with $1,000 a month at that time. So, whatever you feel will help you protect yourself in case of loss of income. 3 to 6 months.
Okay. Cathy, a lot of people lack confidence around money. So you're teaching these sort of nuts and bolts things, but one thing that blocks people from accumulating money and wealth and security is they have limiting beliefs around their money story and their confidence. Like, I don't know how to do this. I don't want to deal with. What's your advice for people to boost their confidence?
That's a really good question. The first thing that comes to mind is to have some kind of spiritual practice. For me, it was saying positive affirmations. I did that every weekday for about 15 years.
What?
And it's funny, I'm actually moving away from that now because these beliefs are so inherent in me that I still use them, but I don't need to repeat them to myself as often because
Wow.
they're just part of me and they're part of how I view the world. And the other thing I want to recommend brings us back to the beginning, the first hot tip about giving. And that is, if you give, that automatically shifts your beliefs. Like I said before, it shifts you from a place of tightness to a place of openness, from a place of fear to a place of trust. And it also ups your sense of deservedness.
Ooh.
So that you are telling the universe, hey, my set point is a little higher now.
Wow.
I deserve more.
Yes. Wow, that's amazing. I love it. And that's so it's intangible, but it's really powerful.
Right. And we as heart-centered people, the counselors, the healers, the authors, the artists, we want to serve our clients, but we need money to fulfill our mission. And giving while we're building wealth helps us build wealth in a heart-centered way. It helps us to, not just be greedy, but be helping the planet while we're helping ourselves.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So, Cathy, where can people get your book?
They can get it on my website, kalicoaching.org.
Kali coaching.
Kali
I'll put the link in
coaching.org.
Okay, I'll put the description in the link in the description box. And how can people work with you, Cathy, as a coach?
So all the information is on my website as well. I like people to take the financial fitness class as kind of an introduction, and they get an overview of some of the basic principles. And then I have a net worth club coming up. It's going to be a monthly subscription program where people can work with me over a year, and they can do it very inexpensively. It's going to be really fun. We're going to have a great group, and they'll be studying the wealth principles in my book, as well as tracking their wealth and their charitable giving.
Oh, I love that. Speaking of giving, you are so generous to your community. You're very committed to diversity and inclusion. You have your conscious living fair every year, well before COVID. I hope you get to have it later this year. Will you?
Yes, one day again, we will.
Okay. Yeah, it's a conference where it's conscious living. It's all about, can you describe it, Cathy, please?
Sure. It's a holistic health conference, really uplifting alternative health practitioners like massage therapists, chiropractors, all kinds of energy workers and healers that are promoting their businesses.
Beautiful, beautiful. So your giving to your community came back when you were in need after the fire last summer, and the community just came together so beautifully to offer assistance. It was something to behold. The entire Southern Oregon community was just so breathtakingly generous to the people in need.
Yeah, we're so grateful. Yeah, we had a GoFundMe that helped us with immediate needs, and we were so thankful for that and all the support, and we're continuing to help people. I was just talking with some low income people today, helping them access grant programs to be able to replace their homes because they didn't get enough insurance to do that.
Wow, that's beautiful. And again, give.
Yep. Yep.
A lot of times I've noticed also, Cathy, that when you give, you get gifted, blessed back with things that aren't necessarily dollars, but blessings.
So true. Yeah. And to be looking out for that, that there's so many blessings we receive all the time. We can be so grateful.
Excellent. So in closing, Cathy, any extra tips or guidance you'd like to share?
Just remember that $10 for give, $10 for save, $10 for spend. Have fun with that this week. And and thank you, Elizabeth. And I shout out to you Elizabeth, for your book coaching program, which helped me
Oh.
set the sights on, how to scale the mountain of writing my book. You gave
Wow.
me the roadmap to be able to do that successfully. I wouldn't be here without you. So
Oh, thank you
much.
so much, Cathy. Thank you. That's so amazing. That's what it's all about. I know so much and I love to teach. We have our 6-month book coaching program going on right now. We had it today, actually. And I am also, if anybody would like to work with me individually, I'm also a private book coach. So, Cathy, thank you so much. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. And I'm excited to read your book, The Boss Up Goddess, when that comes
Oh,
out. Woo, that's going to be
yes, yes.
exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. It's got a major financial component because you can't boss up and you have to be good with your money. You have to build your empire needs to be financed.
Absolutely.
When you boss up and be a goddess, you have your own empire. That's your life. And in that empire, you need money and you need all the things that you just described. So I'll have to have you on again to talk about that. And when you have your book, so I can't wait to read it.
Yay.
Mhm.
Yes. Same here.
Awesome. Yes. Well, thank you again, Cathy Kelly, money coach, author, amazing person, contributing to the positivity and empowerment of all of us.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
You're welcome. And thank you, all of you, for joining us tonight on Boss Up Goddess, where you got to meet money coach and author Cathy Kelly, who shared her wisdom to help us all live bigger, better, and bolder when it comes to our money. And who doesn't love knowing that they have money coming in, money saved, money growing, and financial security? That's truly the way to boss up. So, if you're finding value in this program, please do like, share, subscribe, comment, and click the notification bell so you'll know every time I go live or upload a new video. Please also follow me on Twitter. And remember, boss up, goddess, you have the power. I'll see you next time.